You feel it in your chest before your mind catches up, the slow withdrawal, the half-hearted replies, the way he doesn't even flinch when you fall silent. Being ignored by someone you once opened your soul to, it's not just painful, it's humiliating, a quiet betrayal that says, "You're no longer worth my attention." Hi, it's Vernon again. Today I want to share with you the quiet but inevitable truths that catch up with every man who fails to value their woman. Because a man never hears the weight of her silence until it's speaking louder than her love ever did. For all women after 60 watching, all the things you need to do now is staying with me until the end, so you'll know exactly what to do next in your relationship and how to make him realize the true cost of ignoring you. And if this strikes a nerve, subscribe to my channel to receive more of the hard-earned wisdom that aging has revealed, and the quiet reflections it's taken me over 40 years to understand. Now, let's walk through the truths he'll come to face, the ones that unfold when a woman stops waiting and starts remembering her worth. 1. He is forced to face the voice inside her silence. A man who ignores a woman who once gave him everything is not strong. He is avoiding the reckoning. Because to acknowledge her would be to face the reality that she showed up fully and he did not. That she loved without hesitation, and he responded with distance. This isn't power, it's delay, and delay has consequences. The truth is, silence from a good woman is not a void. It is a mirror. One that reflects everything he was unwilling to confront while she was still offering her voice, her presence, her care. But here's the deeper truth. Silence is not the absence of feeling. It is the burial ground of everything she once hoped he would understand without being told. Her silence holds memories he dismissed, efforts he overlooked, moments he treated as ordinary when they were anything but. What he doesn't realize, at least not yet, is that when a woman falls silent, she's not waiting to be rescued. She's waiting for him to feel the weight she carried alone. He may think he's won space. What he's really inherited is time. Time for the regret to grow. Time for the questions to fester. Time for every ignored word and cold glance to echo back when there's no one left to explain them. And once she no longer needs to be heard by him, her silence becomes something else entirely. Not a plea, but a boundary. A declaration that she will no longer spend her life auditioning for love she already gave. No man, no matter how certain in his dismissal, walks away untouched by that kind of stillness. It doesn't shout, it lingers. It questions him in the quiet. It returns in the soft hours when pride is tired and memory grows honest. Because a woman's silence, when it finally speaks, is never just absence. It is judgment, delivered without a word. And in that silence, she reclaims not just her voice, but her worth. But the story doesn't end there, because while she is finding herself again, he is only beginning to face the quiet unraveling of what he thought he could afford to ignore. 2. A woman's absence teaches a man what her presence truly meant. I know this not just from observation, but from my own life. Years ago, I made the mistake so many men make. I assumed my wife would always be there, always understanding, always forgiving. I stopped listening with presence. I stopped looking her in the eyes when she spoke. I didn't ignore her out of cruelty, but out of comfort. And comfort, left unchecked, becomes neglect. One evening, she stopped talking. Not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. And it was in that silence that I first heard the echo of everything I had failed to appreciate. The meals made without thanks, the support given without condition, the little ways she loved me, even on the days I didn't deserve it. It was humbling and terrifying, because for the first time I realized love doesn't leave with shouting, it leaves with quiet. In that stillness, I came face to face with my own entitlement. The belief that just because she stayed through storms, she'd always stay through silence. But as the philosopher Seneca once said, a gift ceases to be a gift when it is expected. Many men don't realize that a woman's love is not owed, it is offered. And when it's no longer met with presence, it withdraws, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. And here's the truth that pierces deeper the older you get. A woman's absence is not empty. It is full of everything she once gave freely, now withheld. And it is in that emptiness that a man finally sees the weight she carried and the light she brought. Her silence was not punishment. It was the consequence of being unseen for too long. And if he is wise, he will not fill that silence with noise, but with change. Because once the silence becomes memory and the absence becomes lesson, he is left with a question no man escapes for long. What does it mean to be remembered by the woman you ignored? Let's look deeper into that. 3. Show him your chapter in the story you rewrote without him. There's a saying I came to believe only later in life. You never truly lose a woman when she leaves. You lose her in the years she stayed and felt alone. When a woman walks away in silence, she doesn't take vengeance. She takes her story, and she rewrites it without you. And that's what haunts a man, not the leaving, but the erasure. The fact that she learned to smile again without his voice in the room. That she grew softer without needing his approval. That she found peace in places he never thought to offer her. For many men, the hard truth doesn't come when she's gone. It comes when he realizes she no longer looks back. That her memories no longer make room for his excuses, and that her healing did not ask for his permission. You see, a man spends years believing he is her anchor, the gravity that holds her world in place.
He imagines himself as the constant, the one she revolves around. But when she walks away, not in anger, but in peace, and rewrites the story without him, something far more unsettling happens. He realizes she was always the one carrying the weight. Now, without warning or permission, he becomes a footnote in a life that continues to bloom. Not because she wants to forget, but because she had to choose between survival and sentiment. That's when the illusion shatters. He wasn't the center of her story. He was a turning point, a lesson written in ink, not in love. And the hardest part here is that she doesn't erase him out of cruelty. She leaves him behind with grace. That grace is what makes the truth impossible to argue with and unbearable to forget. This is where the real reckoning begins, when pride meets irrelevance, when silence becomes reflection, and when her life, lived fully without him, becomes the loudest reminder of how much he missed by not showing up. So be honest. Have you ever been the woman who chose peace over proving your worth? Or the man who only understood her value once she stopped explaining? Let me know in the comments. Your story might be the mirror someone else needs. Because what comes next isn't just about him. It's about the power you reclaim when you no longer wait to be seen. And in that power lies a deeper shift, one we'll explore next.
4. The old price always comes, even if the bill arrives late. Imagine that a man walking through an empty house that once echoed with laughter. He opens a drawer and finds an old note in her handwriting. Nothing dramatic, just a grocery list maybe. But it stops him cold, because it's no longer about what she wrote, it's about who she used to be when she wrote it, and how invisible that version of her became while he wasn't paying attention. That's the moment it hits, not like a crash, but like a quiet invoice for all the small dismissals, for the weight she carried in silence, for every time he chose convenience over care. The cost of ignoring a woman never arrives with thunder. It comes quietly, through memories that now ache, through spaces that feel too silent, through the absence of a voice that once made his world feel less hollow. You see, the real debt isn't her leaving. It's the realization that she left long before her body ever did, emotionally, spiritually, quietly detaching one disappointment at a time. And by the time he notices, the bill has already accumulated interest. There's a reason Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists." The more he denied her emotional presence, the more her absence cements itself in his reality. Many men live thinking time will heal it, but time doesn't heal what pride refuses to confront. And so the price remains, not out of punishment, but as a record, a quiet testament to what happens when someone is taken for granted. It's about the moment you stop hoping he'll feel the loss and start realizing you've already moved beyond needing him to. 5. The silence that once hurt him eventually stops hurting you. There comes a point when the silence that once broke you no longer belongs to him. When he first begins to feel the weight of your absence, it stings. He paces. He rereads the old messages. He convinces himself you'll reach out eventually, just like before, that your silence is temporary, a test, a punishment maybe. But then the silence stretches, and you don't come back. And here's the truth most men aren't ready to face. Silence that was once power over you becomes peace within you. He starts to notice that you're no longer reacting, not angry, not cold, just not there. And that absence, it's not emotional warfare, it's emotional closure. Because one of the hardest lessons a man learns, if he ever does, is that a woman doesn't need to yell when she's done. She just needs to no longer care. And when that moment arrives, everything shifts. He's still trying to make sense of what happened, and you're somewhere else. Not bitter, not broken, just free. In my younger years, I thought silence was a space to wait for someone to fill. Now I know better. Silence is not empty, it's sacred. And when a woman reclaims her silence, she also reclaims her time, her peace, her identity. It's a terrifying realization for a man that the woman he once took for granted now doesn't even need him to understand anymore. And that's the deepest cut. Not her anger, not her sadness, but her indifference. As the philosopher Alain de Botton once said, indifference is a sign of maturity, not because you stop feeling, but because you stop waiting. Because there's one final truth left, the quietest but most powerful one of all. The one that reminds him, and perhaps you, of what happens when a woman not just walks away, but rises. And when that shift happens, what follows is not just freedom, but the quiet kind of strength that changes everything. Strength we'll step into next.
6. Regret is a companion that never leaves. When a man has been taught the price of ignoring a woman who once gave him everything, the lesson does not fade. It lingers in the spaces between his thoughts, appearing when he least expects it. Regret, in this sense, is not a moment. It is a companion. The first sting is loss. The second is realization. But the longest lasting is awareness, an unshakable knowledge of what he let slip through his hands. Psychologically, regret is different from guilt. Guilt seeks forgiveness. Regret accepts there is none to be given. And so he learns to live with the shadow of what he dismissed, while you learn to live in the light of what you reclaimed. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." For him, looking back will be a constant reminder. For you, moving forward becomes the reward. This final truth is not about revenge, it's about permanence. Because once a man truly understands the depth of what he lost, there is no going back to ignorance. The memory of you becomes both a mirror and a measure, reflecting who he was and what he failed to be. And here lies the greatest value for you, knowing that his understanding, however late, no longer has the power to alter your path. Your life has already expanded beyond the reach of his realization.
In the end, the price he pays is not just losing you, it's carrying the knowledge of exactly what that loss means for the rest of his life.
So, what does it all come down to? Not the silence, not the absence, but the transformation that happens in between. When a woman stops fighting to be heard and starts listening to herself, something powerful unfolds. She doesn't just walk away, she awakens. She reclaims her worth, not to prove a point to him, but to restore peace within herself. And for the man, the silence she leaves behind becomes a lifelong teacher, a quiet echo of everything he once took for granted. He doesn't lose her when she leaves. He lost her in every moment he failed to notice her slipping away. But healing is never about being understood by the one who hurt you. It's about realizing you no longer need their understanding to move forward. You don't need closure from them when you found clarity within. So if you're still waiting to be seen, maybe it's time to stop waiting and start seeing yourself again. You are not the echo of someone else's neglect. You are the author of your own peace. And in that peace, you find the strength to rise, not with noise, but with grace. If this spoke to you, I invite you to share your story below. It might just be the mirror someone else needs. And if you'd like to keep walking this path of healing and wisdom together, subscribe. I'm Vernon, and I believe the quietest revolutions begin with a woman who finally chooses herself. Thanks for watching my video.